All right, it is straight up 12 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order of Williamson County ESD 3. All commissioners are present, and we will do the invocation and pledge to the flags. Unless someone else wants to pray, I'll pray for us quickly. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all of our just ESD folks who serve our community every day, that do that courageously and faithfully. Or just pray for your protection over them, and we'll just pray for this meeting. Any decisions that we make, that we would do so with integrity in all that we do. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And we're adding the Texas flag now, too.
All right.
Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible. Thank you. I feel like I'm at a school board meeting when we added the Texas flag. All right. We have any public comment, Chief? Okay. Hello, Cheney. Just in time. All right, move straight into presentations. And I think our first presentation, Amy, is that right?
Okay. Commissioners, Amy is with HDL. These are the folks that we use for our sales tax. And we, since there's some new board members, felt it was very important to do sales tax 101, right, Amy?
Yep, that's what it is.
There you go.
And the PowerPoint's working. We thought I was gonna have to mime it if it didn't, so that's good. Here's my business card, just hand it down. Right or left, yours.
Thank you.
Again, thanks for the introduction. Again, I'm Amy Flanagan with HDL Companies. Every year we kind of come and do a little sales tax 101 for you guys, especially when we get new board members and such. It had been our former director, Paul Lamar, who would come and do it. Paul is now retired, but she would bring me to these meetings and I always wondered why. I think now I know why. It's my tag I'm in, right?
That's right.
So we'll just do a little introduction to sales tax. First thing we want to sort of go over is transparency and confidentiality. Very important, especially with new folks in the room, and just some of the information that we will discuss, or you may discuss with or without others here, is confidential based on the comptroller's rules and the Texas tax code. So I decided, and I appreciate having this opportunity, because a lot of people ask, why can't we talk about this? It forced me to kind of find those rules of why we can't. So I'm going to drag this. Y'all are the teeth cutting. This is going to go into every presentation I do moving forward. All right. So there's reports that are available to local jurisdictions once you get your sales tax. Sales and use taxpayer, delinquent taxpayer reports, zip code lists, permit holders, et cetera, et cetera. And then you see the highlighted information there. There's also confidential information reports that are only available under open records request. So basically the first 4 reports are some aggregated version of the confidential report. So you can order just open records, but not the confidential. If you wanted just these top 4 reports, that would be an aggregated something you could order from the comptroller. The confidential reports are what gets into the place where we're in a sticky situation where it's not open for public inspection. Within that, the reason what makes it confidential is it has identifying taxpayer information. So it's a taxpayer ID, the name, the amount of money they reported that month, kind of what's going on there. And that's a confidential. Not everybody has access to the information. You all do, and we do because of our contractual relationship. Y'all have authorized us to get that for you, and that's what helps us do our work for you and kind of check your sales tax. So that's kind of that. But what makes it confidential? Well, I pulled all the rules. And this is why I really appreciate this, because I get to ask this question quite a bit. So, and there's a link down there, and I can forward that to Chief, who can send it to you guys. If you don't have anything better to read, you can read the confidentiality statement on the comptroller's website. But basically, in accordance with Texas Tax Code 321.1 .3022, the information that is confidential is only going to be given to you unless you are an authorized agent in an aggregated amount. So that's what that top tier item states. The second tier item states, oh no, if we do talk about it in a public session, we could be fined $1,000, we could go to jail, or we could have both, right? So they're taking this seriously, and they should. As a taxpayer, that information is confidential, and you should be able to trust that no one's going to just be sharing that in an open session. And then again, I'll send that link below to Chief if you all kind of want to dole through that yourself. But these are the rulings that state that the things we talk about outside of just general aggregated numbers as far as sales tax and the taxpayer are confidential and can't be shared in an open session. So any questions on the confidentiality stuff, or we can move on? Yeah.
Go.
Awesome. All right. So first thing we're going to talk about is district sales tax authority. And as you all know, you get your sales tax, but what led to this deal? So number one, back in May of 2016, you all had an election where the voters authorized you all to get 2% local sales tax. By October of 2016, because from May 2016 to October of 2016, you had to report it to the comptroller. They had to go through all the motions, go through zip codes, et cetera. And that's why you were first effective in October of 2016. You captured the 2% local sales tax within your service boundaries that someone else didn't already claim. So when you all had your election, there may have been some spaces, and I have a map to kind of show this information. There may have been some areas that were already claimed by someone else that weren't open for y'all to receive that. So that's what that is. Voters gave the district the authority to collect that sales tax, and then you may share it with other taxing jurisdictions at your own discretion through interlocal agreements. Okay. So this is the map of your service boundaries, but service boundaries and sales tax boundaries are not always the same, because you can see with your sales tax boundaries, those spaces that are open are where someone else got that, claimed it before you all had that election. So that's what that open spot is there. Okay, so some useful terms. Taxpayer, everybody knows basically what that is, but that's the business engaged in taxable sales and services. Collections are what the state and local taxes that are collected when you all go to the store. You pay 8 1/4, 6.25% of it goes to the state, and the other 2% goes to whoever gets that money, and that's you all for the sake of y'all sales tax. And then allocation is what the comptroller gathers it all up and then pays out to the taxing jurisdictions on a monthly basis. That allocation goes out the second Friday of every month. Pretty sure. Set your watch by that, but you all get your allocation at that point. And then where does sales tax come from? Well, you can see it can come from your taxing jurisdictions. That's businesses that are open and brick and mortars that are running their business in the district, in the state. So there'll be some state entities that come in and owe sales tax where they're doing their business, and then maybe the state. And you can see that teeny spot that's not Texas, that's anywhere else that would owe you all some sales tax, and all of it goes to the comptroller. That's the little safe there that then gets distributed out to you guys. And then sales tax, the administration of sales tax is a very circular item there. So you can see a taxpayer right there at the top. They get it, they open their business and they secure their sales tax permit, and then they collect the sales tax when they do their business. And then the taxing jurisdictions, you see those local codes, when they know they owe, the 6.25 goes to the state. When they know they're doing business in the specific local jurisdiction that they know they owe that additional money to, there's a code that is associated with that 2%. And that's how they know who they need to pay it to. So you all there, and we just added those other 2 folks just to kind of see. Everybody who gets sales tax has their local code attached to them. And then the comptroller in turn allocates that local portion to the local taxing jurisdiction that it belongs to. That second
I got a question. In the ones that we share with the city, are those allocations reported to the comptroller changed in those properties where we have our 60-40 split, and 1.2 goes to the city and 0.8 goes to us, or how's that money?
Yeah. Well,
allocated?
we will get into, I think, some portion.
It's further in your presentation.
It's not in this presentation, but I believe we will get into that additionally outside of this. But in a likely general scenario, yes, If the comptroller has been mandated or requested to do that split, they will split that out. And there's a code attached to that as well.
So when we do that now, Chief, do you and HDL coordinate on reporting to the comptroller which of these properties we have the 60-40 split on, so they automatically know where to send the money?
So it has been the responsibility of the city to report to the comptroller that they have a sales tax agreement with us. That's the way it's been done in the past.
Okay, so again, what I'm going to ask you is, maybe from a map standpoint, if we had an idea, Chief probably knows them by heart, perhaps Rob does, and you guys do. But that previous map you went to that showed our boundaries, in that boundary area, it'd be nice, I don't know how hard it'd be to create a map that shows where we're sharing the 60-40 splits with the city.
I have everything you need, but not to talk about in the open session. I have maps with all that in.
Okay, so we're planning to go in executive session and have that discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
Because it'll tiptoe into confidential space.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. Thank you.
No problem. But I appreciate you bringing
That's
it up.
right. Thank you, Chief.
Okay, so we got through all of that. And then how is local sales tax allocated, the scheduling? So just because you're receiving sales tax in a month doesn't mean it was for that month's activity. Sales tax is on the 2-month lag. So work that occurs, sales tax activity that occurs in January is reported by the 20th of the next of February. You see the yellow star there. And then you all's March allocation will include January sales tax activity. So it's a 2-month lag, unless someone is playing catch up, or sometimes they pay ahead. There's some taxpayers, especially around the holidays, get double pay because they're, people are going to be taking breaks and such. So they'll pay ahead, but we consider that caught up because they've paid, and we're able to see that on our end for you all. Okay. And then where do we fit into this whole scenario? So we talked about the open records request for the confidential information. We have an authorization that we submit to the comptroller annually that you all sign, giving us permission to receive your confidential data for you. When we get that data in, we cull through all of it. We upload it to our portal. You have access to those reports, the chief does. And then we're on our end researching anomalies, and we're identifying corrective actions. We're looking to make sure that people who say they're reporting and that are coded to you are really supposed to be reporting to you, and vice versa. We're also providing you with reports. We are reviewing proposed annexation. So when the chief gets proposed annexation information, he sends it to me, and then I send it to our annexation folks. And then they're mapping everything to make sure, that it's proposed versus active and that sort of thing. So we're doing that. We provide quarterly statewide sales and use tax forecast updates, and we assist you all with forecast tool that we created to kind of help with budget projection. And then we can provide consultation on specific sales and use tax topics of interest as needed, which today being one of those, but just other general questions. Chief and I have talked a lot over the past few months, but even just the other day, he had sent the mapping issues to me that without his help, we wouldn't have been able to challenge the comptroller's ruling on something, saying that someone wasn't in your district and they are. So we're working on that challenge for you all as well. So those are just some of the things we do on our path.
What's the example of use tax?
Use tax would be, say, you have best possible scenario, all the pipeline, the pipeline work that was going on throughout Texas. The materials that they were using to build those pipelines were being stored in certain spaces. I don't think they were necessarily being stored here, but say in other areas. When some taxpayers will get a certificate with the comptroller where they can store materials, and then they owe sales tax when they use them. That's what the use aspect of it is. So it's just for storage and use of materials. And when they use their materials, if they're being stored in your district, then you get the sales tax when they take it out. Those are project-based. We never set our watch to that sales tax because it will be short. So that's that. That's the end of that presentation. And then,
Yeah, a couple things if I could add. So she talked about there's the 2-month lag on when we see it, and those are the reports that I send out to you monthly on that. But we calculate that if it's a new business that has been built from the ground up, it'll be about 2 years for us to see the first sales tax coming in. So as if and when McAllister, well, no, that's
Never happened.
something outside the city limits, they go up today. The day they're completed, we don't see any return on that until 2 years from now.
Okay.
So that's one of the things, and you've heard me say, especially during budget presentations, sales tax is fleeting. And we want to make sure that we don't put all of our eggs in the basket when it comes to sales tax. If we have a very good economy, sales tax is up. It was quite interesting. Paul and I had worked prior to Amy that when COVID was going on, we thought, oh my goodness, we are going to take a terrible hit during COVID. And the opposite was true. Everybody saw a tremendous increase in sales tax because of online shopping, people staying home and doing it.
Internet retail became everybody's top right then and
And
there.
there are some things we don't get sales tax off of, and John might be able to better address this. We don't get electricity, right, John?
Correct.
And
Because we're deregulated. You don't get sales tax on electricity or gas utilities because the statutes don't allow it.
Okay. What about fiber and,
So you can, and I believe you have repealed the exemption on telecommunications.
okay.
and all that comes from the legislature.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah,
Yep.
any questions for me?
Right?
We can go to the real, riveting confidentiality.
Yeah. Thank you, Amy. All right. On to regular presentations. Chief?
Thank you, Mr. President. You have a copy of my report behind the FC tab. A couple things I want to point out, though, and I put on the side there. You have a copy of a letter. We had one of our firefighters who, his wife is an officer in the Army. She's a PA. She got transferred from Fort Cavasso out to California. Magic was our firefighter from Poland. These guys may be able to pronounce his last name. I just never could. It's just called Magic. Magic was, we really hated to lose him because of what he brought here. And I would just encourage you, when you have time, to read the letter that he sent to us. And that letter is for us collectively as an organization. The second letter that you have in front of you is a letter we got just the other day from Texas A&M Forest Service. You will remember that we had a crew in California during the January wildfire incident that they went on. So CAL FIRE, California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, sent a thank you letter to everybody that was there, every fire department, paid volunteer, anyone like that. Copy of this letter has been submitted to everyone who was there, as well as their battalion chief. And so, as always, we're proud of our folks when they carry Hutto Fire's name anywhere. And I don't know if it was as a result of this or something else, but I spent about an hour on the telephone last week with Maricopa County, Arizona, who was wanted to know more about Hutto Fire, how we do things. So, you know, our name is out there and the good things we do for the community. So I'm very proud about that.
That's great.
Mark your calendar, June 16, 17, and 18 is the strategic planning meeting. June 16th, 2 to 4 p.m. at UCHEC will be the community meeting. I think I copied you all on the email that went out to people in the community. You're more than welcome to come to that, to sit and listen and hear what the community and partner agencies have to say. June 17th at 12 o'clock, they would like to meet with the board. 12, it will take no longer than an hour on that Tuesday, and we'll meet right here, because on Tuesday and Wednesday, that presentation is actually here, meeting with some members of the fire department. And then you remind the board on June 19th, we start the collective bargaining agreement with 4707, and that will take place, right? That's all I have unless you have questions.
And that is Henry and Mary Claire.
I mean, Mary Claire Parliament.
That's right.
Okay.
You were looking at her name on the letter. I get it.
All right. Thank you, Chief. Oh, I emailed y'all, but as the former communications person for the school district, I still get asked to do interviews and things like that. And so the current communications guy and I actually started a couple months ago doing these podcasts that are community and school district related podcasts. And our one this month was Chief, and it was good. Have you listened to it yet? No.
It is
It's really good. I felt like it really turned out well.
Did y'all
So-
do video?
No, it's just audio. It's just audio podcast. So yeah, you might want to share with people. Okay. Anyway, thanks for doing that. You did a great job. All right. Rob, Assistant Chief Report.
Again, monthly report from calls in April, over 391 calls. The standard split between city and county, and as you can see, the normal data that we have that we present each month to you.
Kind of hazmats were you?
I would have to look back and see and pull out those reports related to hazmat calls. It could be a variety of things from diesel and gas leaks, spills, that kind of stuff. So I'd have to look into that.
As Chief knows, I serve on the Wilco LEPC, and I think Jake is pulling us together locally to start working on our community hazmat analysis.
Is that false alarm number? Is that higher than 21? That seems high. Is that normal?
Standard.
Is it?
yeah.
Okay.
High school.
We get several calls when there's storms that go through this. That's all.
Yeah, it just sets off alarms.
Okay.
Yeah, probably had a few in the last few nights.
When you redone that high school alarm system, and boy, it was chasing these guys.
Mhm. And obviously one of those fire calls was the one at Ray Elementary, I assume. That was a significant fire. I think a teacher plugged too many things into. It was on a Saturday, and we had a legit fire. We had to shut down Ray Elementary for 2 days, that Monday and Tuesday. It was
A lot of damage.
quite a bit. Yeah. And
And we want
most of it was water damage.
that one to recognize our partner agencies from Hutto ISD Police to Hutto Police. There was an event going on in the gym at Ray Elementary, and Hutto PD got in and evacuated everyone out. We had our partner fire department from Pflugerville, Taylor, just our standard auto aid folks that we always used. And so yes, it was a working fire that they had, but that's what the sprinkler system is for.
Good thing that was that.
But
It
most of the
worked.
damage was from the sprinkler
sprinkler.
system. Yeah. Well, and a couple of people said, oh, they were glad that nobody was there. School wasn't going on. I was like, actually, had it been going on, probably would have been able to respond to it and get it put out pretty quickly and avoided all of that. But anyway,
Our fire marshal's office was on it from the investigation standpoint to getting back with the school district to make sure that the school district's following the codes that need to be followed.
yeah, I suspect that beginning of next school year, there'll be a little more. Henry was already
A little more.
cussing people, and he doesn't even work there anymore.
Do y'all keep fire extinguishers in every classroom?
I don't think so at every room.
But we get two visits by the fire marshal every year. They work with Chris Contreras, our emergency management coordinator. They walk the buildings. And so there are probably as many as 40 fire extinguishers in an elementary school.
Gotcha.
And then we do have almost all the modern schools have sprinklers now, where before we only sprinkled the stages.
So in that case, if they had a manual fire extinguisher and knew how to use it, they could probably saved a lot of damage.
If school had been going on, if people had been in there,
So
but
nobody was in.
no, it was on a Saturday morning. Yeah. It was a
And
Saturday
not,
morning.
not to beat up on the teacher, but there's restrictions as to what we allow in classrooms. We don't allow personal appliances. You know, there's a certain percentage of paper that can be hung on walls that's
Gotcha.
always inspected by the fire marshal. So those are things that the district will have to look at and step up and reinforce.
Yeah,
It was preventable.
it was. Yep.
Another item, Chief highlighted it in his apparatus update, but we do now have our air truck in-house in service, our squad in-house and in service. So you see them running around on the streets.
What's an air truck?
Our air truck is it's an air rehab unit that provides refillable air to SCBA's on structure fires.
Oh, okay.
So we're able to take the air to the unit, to the structure fire, and fill bottles there on site.
Can we use that for shut-ins in the event of an incident where oxygen is needed?
We don't have oxygen in there. This is breathing air.
Just breathing air,
This is
okay.
just straight breathing air. Just so the board's aware, these were ordered in fiscal year 2021. And so that's how long.
It takes to, it's crazy. Okay, thanks, Rob. Where are we at? Financial report.
Yes, so in May, we have closed our budget request from all our staff members that have to do with budget. So me and Chief have pulled all their budget up to this point. So we kind of analyzed that. This will be my first year doing it. So Chief's kind of showed me the ropes how the budget goes. And I guess he said y'all have like a budget committee, like two of y'all. So I guess we'll be sitting in on that budget committee just to work together. As well as we have a safer grant that me and Chief are budgeting for. It was originally quoted for January. They had pushed it back. So now the due date is July 3rd. July 3rd. So that's just extra grant from the federal government for staffing for Station 4.
Okay.
And I did forget to go along with what Andrea said. I did forget to mention that SAFER, which is Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. That grant under FEMA opened up last Friday. We were waiting on the whole reorganization of FEMA and everything like that. In fact, we didn't even know if it was going to be there. So between Andreas and I, we're getting everything together to go out for that grant. We have received that grant 2 other times over the years. I think we've put in 4 and received 2. So, but it's a national, you're going against every fire department. I don't remember the total dollar amount that the feds have put in it for this year, but usually the requests are about 10 times the amount of money that they have in the grant.
Right. Is it for specific items or?
It's only to put people on fire trucks. It
Okay.
doesn't apply to anyone on the admin side, doesn't apply to the fire prevention side. It's the number of people riding on an engine, and the number of people riding on a ladder, and the number of people riding on the squad.
Okay.
And it has a lifespan, 2-3 years.
Yes, so this year's SAFER, it's a 3-year. They've gone back to the matching. So the first 2 years, the federal government pays 75%. The last year, they pay 66%. But in all of these grants that we've done, they paid 75. It's been 75-25, a 50-50. They'll do 100%. That's what's frustrating. There is no consistency throughout the years on how they do this. And in all of those grants, whether it's the SAFER grant or the fire prevention grants, or just what I call the stuff grants, which is equipment. Chief Neal has been an evaluator on them before. Fire Marshal Woods has been an evaluator on them before. I've been an evaluator. So the folks that are looking at the grants are peers, and it's not just someone sitting in Washington, D.C. or place like that going, I couldn't tell you a left-handed socket wrench from a spanner. So
Okay. How soon do they notify?
We've been advised that the grant has to be in by July 3rd, and they will start notifying us by the end of August. Now, I'm skeptical because Taylor put in for a safer 2 years ago and was only recently notified that they didn't get theirs.
Oh, wow.
So some of the efficiencies that go on there are not efficient.
It's government. Okay. All right. Thank you. Fire marshal report.
Good afternoon. Our statistics are right there in your package. We're still hovering a little over the 200 current construction projects right now. Not a whole lot has changed. We're seeing a lot of the same type of things. We've got some bigger projects that are projected to come in. This week, it's been kind of a busy week for our office. Among all the other things that we do, we also graduated another Citizens Fire Academy Tuesday. Last night, we wrapped up our Explorers program for this year. So we did that. Next month, here in just 2 weeks, June. End of June, we've got our Junior Fire Academy. That's gonna be the first one we put on. We got that starting. The kiddos, the first one is kind of inaugural, work the kinks out. So we're using kids from inside the organization. Once we work out the kinks, then we're gonna bump it out to the our community for next year. Other than that, unless you have some questions, that's about it. Chief, did you want to touch on the new?
Yeah, I forgot to. If you want,
No, I was gonna- no, go ahead.
So, yeah, these guys are giving reports and it's going, oh yeah. And it's behind my report, but it actually came through the fire marshal's office. As you all know, Fire Station 5 is in cooperation with the school district at the intersection of Destiny Lane and
Main Depot Drive.
Main Depot Drive. What the result of getting that through the school district is the school district is putting a fire protection program at the second high school. You will see in my report, I think it's the last page, when Eric got the plans the other day, sure enough, they've already got it drawn in there. And so over the next few years, we'll be working with the training office, and then we're going to work with the school district to make that thing go forward. So again, this is partnerships. We got the place for the fire station, and in exchange, this is helping them with that program. And when you have a high school student that has completed their EMT and their fire protection, and they turn 18 and take the state test, and they come out immediately at 18 making 62,000 to a little higher than that, that's a good paying job
Yeah,
that they'll
sure.
be in for a while.
And we talked a little bit about that on the podcast. So, great. Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. I can tell you, ISD, we're excited about that. And it is a great example of partnerships and working together in the community.
Should this classroom will also do EMT training and fire training, or is it just for fire? And the EMT is done.
I can't answer where they're going to do
Okay.
EMT. I think this was designed just for fire.
Just for fire.
The EMT is through the health sciences program over
Right.
there. This is going to go, is it called career technology?
CTE.
Yeah, this is going to go through the CTE. I've actually met with the CTE instructor, or the head of the program. He was in the Citizens Fire Academy, and we had a discussion one evening when I was here. So I know they're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And you know, now what we're getting we're going to have the Junior Fire Academy, we have the Explorers. We'll have this in the school system. We'll have the Citizens Fire Academy. We're creating that pipeline from that young kid who starts and can go all the way through and end up with a very good career.
Yep.
Okay.
Then stay here and how to.
This snippet, where's this snippet of this floor plan going? Is it part of that future fire station?
No, it's
It's in the
inside the
high
high school.
That's the high school expansion.
Okay,
That's at the ninth grade center.
I wasn't sure. It seemed all about the fire. Okay.
All right. Any other questions for that? All right. Training report.
Good afternoon. As you can see in your report, our training hours for our general electrical training was 1,083 total man hours. Unless you have any other questions, that's all we got to do for training.
I know my safety stuff came in. Do I need to get that certificate to you? Can I just forward you the email?
I just sent it to Mary Ann.
No, that's Marty Pants.
No, I'm just saying, you're skipping the step.
If you plan to achieve this, hours to us.
All right.
All right, Hutto Fire, Professional Firefighters Association report.
Today.
Nothing. Okay. Yeah, golf tournament. What is that?
September 27th.
Okay. Nobody's willing to bet their life on that, that date. All right, Explorers report.
Inspector was out today. I'll just kind of do that real quick. Like I said earlier, we just wrapped it up for the school year. The kids seem pretty excited about it. We've got a few things we're going to tweak and change. You know, when you restart something, you find those little nuances that you can change. But other than that, it's going great.
How many were there in the program?
I think it was eight-ish, somewhere around there. There was one or two that dropped out along the way. Other life got in the way kind of things. But the kids that were there this week, they seem pretty happy and excited about the whole thing and coming back next year.
Great. Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to consent agenda. Nobody has any questions about that? Entertain a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion to approve consent and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, consent passes. Moving on to regular agenda items. Item 1, discuss, consider, take appropriate action on construction of fire headquarters complex.
So the headquarters complex continues. I'll let Keith throw some things in here. I know here recently we've had some weather delays, but now that they have concrete down, they've been able to go forward with the steel.
Yeah, the old weather, what he's talking about is a driveway that goes in front of the fire headquarters, so that's a requirement of the fire marshal to have something before you go vertical, so they get apparatuses to it within a certain distance of the actual site. The warehouse itself, the metal building's up, it's all sheathing is going on right now. Roof will go on next month, so it's moving along very quickly. They've got all the structural steel up on the fire headquarters building. Now we're putting the metal studs on the perimeter of it because they're all load bearing. And then I think next week they'll deliver the actual trusses that go on top of that. So you're going to start seeing more shape to it itself. But the structural steel is up and done. And again, it's moving forward very quickly.
What, just random question. My wife and I were driving by it the other day and she said, why are there 2 buildings? I was like, well, one of them's a warehouse. And she's like, what's going in the warehouse? I don't know. What goes all in the warehouse?
Right now we have stuff stored around
At the different stations.
So we're going to concentrate, we're going to move all the protective clothing. That has a room to go there. There's a room for all the self-contained breathing apparatus to be there and maintenance. Foam, firefighting foam. We have some lined up in the walls out here. We'll get all that there, the depth, so that, it will be there. So there's just a variety of the stuff that we have spread around. We'll concentrate.
Just consolidated all over there.
Yeah, we went looking, a good example is we went looking last week for this tablecloth in a pop-up stand for the Hutto Strong seminar that Hutto Emergency Management had. We tore upstairs apart. We tore offices apart. It's like, we've got it somewhere. So we'll get it and we'll get it all concentrated.
Okay. Great.
Will that building serve as our emergency management as well?
Emergency management, we will work with them and we'll go to where they're at. The city has a couple options. They can go up to the bus barn that is up on 1660 North. Yeah. Or they can go to City Hall. They have a long range plan to put in a public safety facility that has come in at a lot more money than what they anticipated. So when it comes to emergency management, we are partnering with either the city or the county, and we'll be working with them at that location. These folks are going to be out in the field, and we're going to be in communication with them.
Do we have a backup generator at that site
Yes, sir.
with an ATS, automatic transfer?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that operates.
It'll service the warehouse as well as the fire headquarters.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Item 2, discuss, consider, take appropriate action on financial bonding requirements for ESD board members and admin staff.
So several months ago, the board directed us to move forward with getting every board member plus staff bonded. We have continued to do research on that, and what came back from
Thanks,
the
Keith.
bonding company is that they're gonna wanna do credit checks on everybody.
Oh, okay.
So we then checked with our insurance through VFIS, and they advised that commissioners performing their duty are covered under the management liability portion. Treasurer's covered under crime, policy, and employee dishonesty, but they still would like to see the treasurer, assistant treasurer, and one commissioner, and it doesn't matter who, they will make sure that they're bonded. But the question has come is, do you still want us to move forward with the bonding company? If so, then we're gonna have to send you information and they'll do full credit checks on everybody. We just need some direction as to what you want to do.
I don't have a problem with credit check. I just think that if we're all signing on checks, we all should be bonded.
I agree.
Unless we're gonna restrict. The chief said
Those
one of the
people.
board members, is that what you mentioned in that list?
Yes, the insurance company, Lee, says they only bond the treasurer, assistant treasurer, and one commissioner.
How much is their bond?
I don't have
Like
that.
$1 million
number.
or something like that, or whatever?
Yeah, I don't have that number.
Okay, you have it.
Sorry.
So that means whoever signs checks or authorizes financial transactions in-house, do we need to cover you separately, or are y'all covered under that?
And we're covered under management liability. The
Okay,
big thing is for the board.
Sure,
More than
okay.
staff.
Yeah.
Because we don't have authority to, do any type of those payments.
how much flexibility does it afford them to track us down to get to sign checks? Because if we're not gonna be bonded, then we need to consider what the implications are,
Right.
whether we don't want to sign checks because we're not bonded.
Well, then I guess, I mean, if for some reason someone doesn't want to go through the credit check, I guess, can they opt out of that, but then they just can't be a check signer?
I would like to be a check signer.
Well, but I think what Dan's saying, and I probably tend to agree, if you're a check signer, that you probably need to be bonded, right?
It's always good. And most of the folks I know that serve on nonprofit boards will request some sort of fiscal,
Yeah.
assurance. Otherwise, we're giving back supposedly, right?
Yeah.
There is some exposure potentially.
Right.
So this started several years back when the county required the treasurer to be bonded. That was
Right.
the only one from the treasurer standpoint. These three that I just read are from the insurance company.
So some are bonded.
But some are bonded according to,
No,
Protected.
oh, through the
we're
insurance.
protected, yeah.
Well, none of us are protected through the insurance company right now, right?
Well, no, you are protected through the insurance company under management liability as long as you're doing business within the scope of the ESD.
Okay, so they are bonding us.
It's not a bond, they're protecting you under that piece of the insurance company. It's not a bond.
Anyway,
What's the difference?
I don't have a problem having a credit check, but that's up to you guys personally too.
Yeah.
as well.
I don't have an issue.
Yeah, I don't think maybe a rule change, but why wouldn't we have good credit to serve in these types of organizations? As a
Have you
part of
met
this-
Stephen? No. Like, have you met Stephen? No. I'm only kidding, I'm only kidding.
I mean,
Well,
I think just for our protection, it would be better. And I think honestly, instead of just doing 3, we should just all do it because there are times that some of us can't be there to sign and it would just, CYA. We care.
Own financial health enough to be scrutinized in order to qualify for a bond.
What we will do then, if
It's like go
continuing
forward.
with the direction of the board, is we will be sending you emails. They do it all electronic. There's no papers for me to bring to you. You'll have to do everything electronically and they'll tell you the steps they need to take.
Okay. Is that something we need to vote on or is that?
No, you had already,
Okay.
you
I thought
already
we had.
asked us to do
I
that.
thought we'd already filled out all the bonding information, but I guess not.
Fine.
I know, multiple times.
No, you've already asked us to go forward with this. I'm just bringing you additional information.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. All right. We are, we're going to move number 4 up to number 3. We're going to switch those two. Cheney, did you have a presentation that's a public presentation? Okay, just 2. Okay. Then we are going to adjourn to, yes.
Would be to go ahead and do number 5 since we're in public.
Okay, yeah, we can do that. John, can you do number 5, the update on any legislative items?
Almost.
Yeah.
Deadline for the chambers to pass each other's bills is passed. They are now at the point where they are working on amendments that they've made to each other's bills, and including the budget. And so the next couple of days are dealing with what are called conference committee reports, where one chamber passed something but revised whatever the other chamber did. There's not too much left that I'm tracking that would affect districts, but I haven't compiled a full summary yet of what it's all going to look like, and I expect we'll probably have that pulled together by the end of June.
Okay.
John, these items that you had been sending, that Safe D was concerned about, how has those come?
So we're still waiting on a conference committee report on one of them, and like I said, I'll pull all that together and give you an update.
Do you see any special session coming?
I don't think there'll be a special session. Once they did vouchers, the special session dropped off the table.
The grant dollars that used to be about 22 million a year, and I know that they were talking about 750 million. Did it survive the budget?
I don't know that it survived the conference committee,
Okay.
which we are working on delving into right now, but I don't know that it survived conference. It was in both budgets approved by each chamber, but strangely enough, don't know that it survived conference committee.
Got to pay for them vouchers.
Even good.
And what we're talking about is the hundreds of millions of dollars to clear the backlog for the 2604 grant funds available to fire departments in the state.
Exclusively ESD, is that right?
Volunteer fire departments
And volunteer.
would have fully funded the backlog. But my intuition right now is that it was stripped completely.
Wow. Smarter than volunteer fire department.
Okay. So you'll know more in June.
We'll have a chance to digest everything as it finishes up. Governor's veto period runs through second week of June, so we won't really know the full implication of everything until then.
Okay. Okay. Any other about that? All right. So we are going to adjourn to closed session or executive session at 12:49 to discuss item 3 and 4 with John. And Cheney, you'll join us